Okay, chapter 6, the US puppet government, Pine Ridge and Dick Wilson. I find it interesting that it opens up on we see the change in our ponies. In the old days, they could stand great hardship and travel long distances without water. Now our horses have less endurance and must have constant care. It's the same with Indians. They have less freedom and they fall an easy prey to disease. The water is not pure as it used to be, and many of the creeks are no longer good for us to drink. Many of them are straight up poison. There is a leaking pipeline that runs under the lake that feeds Pine Ridge. And instead of fixing it, they bitch about the money they have to spend to jail protesters. Sooner or later, the earth is going to just take us off like fleas. We are not treating her very well. What I got
we're not.
out of this chapter is it was the big setup. They wanted the uranium. They spent $24 million on Dick Wilson's goon squad. And they said that they wanted to kill the American Indian movement members. Dick Wilson did. And the government was thrilled with that. They held him immune from prosecution. They killed little kids. They killed elders. It says they killed 60 people. People that were there say it was closer to 300. And the FBI files looking into all the murders, every single one of those people got drunk, fell in the snow, and died of exposure.
Yeah, that's what they always say.
The bullet wounds were, they must have hit their head on a rock or something. But, there were internal memos about getting ready for a conflict. And there was no conflict coming up that they knew of. They planned this whole thing. It was really clear. They sacrificed 2 of their own people. I don't know if those agents had any idea of what they were driving into. They show up in unmarked cars looking for someone suspected of stealing cowboy boots. And AIM went there at the request of the jumping bulls because the goon squads were just killing people right and left. People were terrified to walk home. People would come to the jumping bull property and knock on the door, the cabin that AIM was staying in and say, would you walk us home? And they'd arm themselves and they'd walk people home. They were very clear on you needed a gun to even walk down the street. And they were talking, everybody that talks about Leonard talks about how gentle he was and how much fun he was, how much respect they had for him. He was telling them you do not have to let ranchers run cattle on your land. You do not have to lease your land for $2 an acre. They were talking about sovereignty. People were taking pride in themselves again. People were giving up drugs and alcohol. If somebody wanted to get drunk, they'd tell them, go do that somewhere else and come back. And the government hated that. They hated that. They did investigate one, I don't know if it was a murder or a beating of a native. They had never cared about it before, but it was an excuse to go onto the reservation and try to find out how many AIM members were there. But they sent those agents in, and you've got agents in unmarked cars following people around that are already paranoid, that are getting shot at. You've got kids who have had their arms and legs shot off. They're going house to house, shooting people's portraits off of walls, doing no-knock warrants. Of course there's gonna be a firefight. And so they find his co-defendants innocent by reason of self-defense and FBI misconduct. And it was clear FBI misconduct. They manipulated the evidence. They found a racist judge. The jury was racist. They told the judge, this woman doesn't like Indians. And he asked her and she goes, no, I really don't care for them. And they let her sit on the jury. So they set this whole thing up to take down AIM. And Leonard was the one that people went to with things. When he was a kid, I read in the book, he was the one that protected the other kids being bullied. He wasn't a bully, you know what I mean? And he did the same for the people there, and the feds couldn't stand it. It stuns me that he has been in prison for almost 47 years when the evidence has all been disproven. The extradition thing, they got a woman to testify that she saw him kill the agents. She said she was his girlfriend. He'd never met her before. And they showed her a picture of Anna Mae, who had been murdered, and said, this will happen to you if you don't say what we want you to. And the minute she was out of their control, she recanted. But interestingly enough, when they tried to press charges against the judge for misconduct, they threw out her testimony on the basis of mental incompetence. But it was good enough to get Leonard back from Canada.
Right.
So what did you guys think about this chapter?
It brought to light more on Leonard's personality and his caring and love for other people, which
Exactly.
was very important about this chapter, because before that book really hadn't mentioned it. It's just leading up to the part where Peltier headed up and protected his people, trying to help them. And the goons were the ones that brought the alcohol on the reservations, trying to get the Indians to start drinking again. And Leonard and his people in support of him confiscated 300 cases of beer and got it off the property.
Exactly.
So he was trying to help the best that he could. And I think that brings in light the fact that the goons and Wilson were so evil and crooked that they would do just about anything to destroy Pine Ridge, Rose, anything with the Indians. And it shouldn't have been. And to me, I don't understand why the government just totally ignored the deaths and murders of innocent women and children and letting them in cars just ride by and start shooting at houses with people and children in them at night. And I'm like you, Dawn, they were scared to even go out during the day without some kind of protection.
Yeah. Well, it also brought up there was a Navajo peaceful protest that a whole bunch of federal agents showed up and beat the crap out of people. And what they were protesting is some teenage boys had killed several Indians. One of them, they shoved firecrackers up his anus before they killed him. I mean, they tortured him.
That's awful.
And they got like 3 years or something like that. And state 3 years, you do half time. I doubt they did a year. But
probably not.
I'm sorry, Catherine.
I said probably not. They probably got out on good behavior.
Probably.
And they shouldn't have.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and Leonard is the one still sitting in a cage. It boggles my mind. It just does. Indians were not people in the 70s.
Well,
Well, I try to say indigenous or native, since we're talking about the American Indian movement, I'm saying Indian because, the American Indian movement, it was a way of taking the word back. Columbus named everybody Indians because he thought he had discovered India. The idiot landed in the Bahamas and decided it was in India. And they're like, we're not Indians. And they named them the Sioux. And that is actually a French word that means little snake. And the reason they named them Sioux is they pushed the Ojibwe tribe, gave them guns and pushed them into Dakota territory. No, Annie's here. And so they kept pushing people, one tribe against another and trying to pit them against each other. And they ended up calling them Sioux, saying, we're going to turn all these little snakes against each other. Hello, Annie. How you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. And you?
Good.
Thank
We're
you for
talking about chapter 6, the big setup. It introduced Leonard as a human being. The kind of, he was fun, he was kind, he was caring. He sobered people up. He gave them something to take pride in. They talked about sovereignty. They talked about living off the land and taking care of themselves. And the government hated that. But it really shows you the kind of man he is. I'm going to put a slideshow together of his artwork. I'm honored to be able to handle his artwork, but you can see in his artwork his reverence for women, for Mother Earth, for life. He is truly a man that has integrity. He could have got, oh, here's my mom. He could have gotten out a couple of decades ago that he would have said, I did it and I'm sorry, but he's not a liar.
oh,
or if he
really?
found out who did it,
Huh?
or if he told on who did do it.
Yeah,
Which he
yeah,
did.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He knows who did it,
Yeah.
but he's not going to give him up.
Right.
A lot of people know who did it, but they're not going to rat somebody out.
Shows his
Person
integrity.
to come forward and say, because his life is almost over. It's like, just go do the rest of your life in prison and let this man who has done nothing but advocate for his people, let him go. Sorry, my ring went off.
I know
Yeah,
we're not
Okay,
thinking I will, but that's what I think I will, the book is about. It's kind of like explaining why Leonard always had to run, escape for his life. Like the details
yeah,
that are left out,
yeah. I'm gonna read that next. I'm reading Sandra's Hands now.
Oh, I wish I was, but it's all I can do to read one of these chapters there. Oh,
Yeah, I know. I get so mad every time I read one
I
of
know.
them.
It's,
I got
What?
it written here. It says, you were talking about the protests they had because they came in and beat up people. And
Yeah,
I wrote, her mother was then murdered. This is all sickening. Yeah, the Janklow and all that. It was like,
yeah. And that
Mhm.
man got an audience with President Clinton
what? It's all
right
so
before
corrupt.
he was gonna pardon Leonard.
yeah, they're all the
So
same.
those people
Oh,
are
that's true. Janklow did
still
that?
in power. A bunch of murderers and rapists.
And the United States still does business the same way they did back then. They haven't changed one bit.
It
Yeah,
worked for them.
You do?
yeah. I send a lot of letters to the president. I don't know if it does any good or not. Gabriella from Amnesty said that every piece of paper, a petition with 5 million signatures on it counts as much as one letter.
Yes.
So I
Um,
send a lot of paper letters to the president.
Oh,
Mm.
I hope emails.
Dawn, would you
sorry,
say
what?
again who was it that got the audience with the president? In what you were just
It
saying a
was
moment
either
ago.
Janklow or
Ed Wood.
Durham, one or the other.
Oh,
Mm.
Durham. I think it was Janklow, but I don't
It
really.
was J Glow in this chapter. J Glow was
I
the
think
one
it
that
was,
had
yeah.
audience.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Janklow was the one that raped Jacinta, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
that was, yeah. And then the mountains, they moved to protect him, and then they put him in an office, a prestigious.
Exactly.
he became the state attorney general.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's
and
his
part of the
reward.
platform he got elected on was killing Indians. Killing Indians. You know, and also this chapter talked about the absolute piss that the FBI threw when they told him shoot to wound, not to kill.
Oh, uh-huh.
And they got that overturned.
Hmm.
They got that overturned.
Yeah, they said they were not gonna do that again.
No, they wanted dead Indians.
Yeah.
And isn't this the chapter where Anna Mae comes back into the picture?
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, that she left with one of the opposition and she never came back, and they found her body and they said it looked like she'd been thrown out of a vehicle, and they tried to pin that on Peltier also.
Oh, yes.
And he was in Canada at the time, so he wasn't even in the United States at the time. He was in
Mhm.
Canada.
You know,
Yeah.
the shame of that is there's a lot of people that are still parroting that information. They paid Denise Kamuk $40,000 to get on the stand and say that she heard Leonard say, I taught those agents and I'm going to kill you too if you say anything. And conveniently, she was the only one that heard it. They paid her $40,000 to say that. Then she married one of the investigators. And she considered Anna Mae a rival. Her husband was having an affair with her.
Right.
So I'm actually writing something up as the response to that. Just when one of these people comes on social media and says, you can't let him out. He killed Anna Mae. It's like, no, he didn't. You're
He
parroting
didn't kill.
something. No, he was in Canada.
No way.
And he was,
One time a lady said, if you want the answer's in Mary Crow Dog's book, Braveheart. No, Mary Crow
Lakota
Dog.
woman.
Thank you. And so I
Oh.
read it, and it was like they were friends, because Leonard would call from prison and they would all be excited and talk to him on speakerphone. That's what was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually how I met Leonard. Is I read Lakota Woman. I was writing a book and I wanted to use a quote from her book. I messaged her son Pedro. He was born on Wounded Knee. And he adopted me into his tribe. He really wanted me to publish my book using his last name. And I used it on Facebook for a minute. And then I thought, I have no right to this name. And Annie was a friend of mine, and she noticed that all of a sudden I was going by Don Lawson Crow Dog. And she introduced me to Leonard.
Cool.
Annie, I've been thinking, I didn't know if Pedro had authority to do that, but now that he has passed, and I don't know how to say, well, now that he's passed, they're calling him Chief Robert Pedro Crow Dog. So the adoption was official. Annie, what did you think about this chapter?
Frankly, I didn't have time to review it this week.
Oh, okay.
So
It was the whole setup.
yeah.
Putting $24 million into the goon squad supplying alcohol, doing everything that they could to,
Make them mess up somehow.
yeah, it was a reign of terror. It was.
Give them
Well,
an excuse.
it's also background information on why so many presidents are afraid of the FBI,
Exactly.
because the FBI can build evidence that is hard to refute.
Mhm.
Exactly. And that,
They can falsify quote evidence, and presidents are afraid of the FBI.
you're
Well,
absolutely right.
Makes
didn't
sense.
the FBI also meet with Obama when he was
Oh, yes.
thinking about,
They sent 500 agents to protest outside of the White House. And that was actually illegal. The FBI is supposed to remain neutral. They
I
have the nerve to say, remember agent, you know, the two that died, when they were the ones that sent them in there.
and they were the
And-
one that actually got caught in the crossfire and got killed. It wasn't anybody on the reservation that killed them. They had so many FBI marshals and goons out there. The book, the chapter says that bullets were flying everywhere.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And I
thousands of
still don't think there's an accurate count of how many deaths occurred.
Oh, no, there's not. The
Mm-mm.
FBI has done everything they could to clean that up. They're saying
I-
it was only 60 people and they all got drunk and fell down in the snow and died of exposure.
I like that piece on NBC today about him wanting a new trial
Oh,
Yeah,
because no sane judge in these days would admit to being so racist and so willing to disregard evidentiary rules.
no. And I
And-
think he needs a new trial. I think that's gonna be the
Definitely.
focus of my new letters.
I think he's
I
out of
mean-
new trials, though. Legally, he's out of new trials.
Yeah, he
Like
would
you-
never, and the Reynolds, his prosecutor, and ex-FBI agent Ryan have both said nobody's looked at the role the FBI played in this whole thing, and they need to. And he would never be convicted in today's courts.
Plus,
I
cold
I'm sorry, go ahead.
guidelines. I'm sorry. I just like, oh my God. Sentencing guidelines for 1975 was like 8 years for a life term.
Yeah,
And you got to go by the sentencing guidelines of when you were sentenced. So, and that
Wow.
Haney guy, Judge Haney or Herney, or
yeah,
he's the one that blew all the, like every parole Leonard's been up for, he hasn't gotten because they've been corrupt.
yeah,
But he's used them all up.
yeah.
His next chance of parole is when? Have been 2024.
24.
Yeah, we're not waiting for that.
24.
We are not waiting for that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I'm writing the thing up on Anna Mae's murder. It was clearly the FBI. I mean, they said she got drunk and fell down in the snow and died of exposure. And they knew about her death months before they told anybody. And I think it was AIM that insisted on an autopsy and found a sniper bullet in her head.
I think it was,
Yeah.
You know, they paid Kamuk to say that Anna Mae told her, Leonard said he shot those agents and he's gonna kill me if I say anything. And, you know, Kamuk was jealous of Anna Mae, number one. Number two, they paid her $40,000. Number three, she married an investigator. You know, and here's the evidence. Nobody else heard it.
Shouldn't it be illegal to pay her?
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
all-
shouldn't that be illegal?
it is.
Well, it all should be illegal. That's the point. What they're doing right now, holding him in prison, is illegal. He's done his time. But who are you going to
Yeah.
complain to? We are the only democracy in the world with no prison oversight.
Right.
If you're a state prisoner, you have rights. Federal prisoners have none. They regularly withhold his insulin. He's got a systemic infection, pink stripes on his neck. They're not treating.
Like a
When he
sepsis
had
kind of thing
COVID.
or what?
When he had COVID, they put him in solitary confinement in a dirty room and didn't bring him water. They withheld water from him.
Jeez.
In federal prisons, the DOJ runs the country. We've lost our democracy.
Mhm.
The president's is scared of the FBI. You know, we have the nerve to sanction other countries for human rights abuses and corruption. And we're the worst
Exactly.
of the lot. We
Exactly.
truly are.
Mm.
Cuba called us out on corruption. And human rights
Don't play.
abuses. I
The
put that
whole- it-
article on the breaking news page too. Annie, the NBC show that you're referring to, I put that on Leonard's site under breaking news.
What is this
Thank
about?
you.
This is today?
An NBC show, they talked to Leonard and he wants a new trial.
Oh, I missed that.
It's on Leonard's website
Okay.
Okay,
under breaking
I-
news.
All right.
okay.
I think it's worthy of note that a lot of different types of corruption in high places is coming to light at this time. Things that have been shuffled aside and negated as conspiracy theory or any number of other things. They're coming. The evidence is there and it's coming to light. And the corruption in our government goes back forever.
Yeah.
And runs deep, and people have just not been. There was too much cognitive dissonance. We
Yeah.
just couldn't wrap our
We've been
minds
far
around
too
it.
apathetic about it.
Right, but it's
You know, money
things have
sets
shifted.
policy and we know this. You know,
and right, and it's not even. I don't even think a lot of the people that are in government they're just puppets. I think they're just
yeah,
playing a game. But things are changing, and what you said. Well, I don't remember. I think it was you, Dawn, that said what happened to Leonard then would never happen now. I look at that. I have to hold on to things for hope because my personality is such that I can become discouraged and despair if
yeah,
I'm not vigilant. Things
yeah,
have
me
changed. They
too.
are better. They're not good enough by any
Yeah.
measure. I'm not saying that status quo is sufficient, but we have made progress. And to me, that is fuel for the fire to
Yeah.
keep pressing on.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, if we don't press on, what else can we do?
yeah.
Exactly.
We have no
All we
hope
can
of
do is
anything.
make ourselves heard.
Mhm.
Calling the White House, sending letters, sending emails. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like enough. I mean, you know, I would like to do something that would make more of a splash, but that's all we really can do for now. They are going to have a migration from Turtle Mountain to California.
Oh,
The,
The Defense
No.
Committee.
Oh, really?
Leonard's route. He was born in Turtle Mountain and made his way to California through Oregon and all that. Sarah is still trying to get in. Sarah just got an apartment. She said she lived in a shed. She said it was a rent to own 8x10 shed.
oh, wow.
Tatanka
I-
Banks, if you guys don't know, I'm running a GoFundMe for him and we're having a hard time getting people to donate. Dennis Banks's home was where everybody hung out and pretty much freeloaded, but it was on the verge of being condemned, and Tatanka's trying to make it livable. He left his life in California to go back to Minnesota. It's cold there and he has no heat. He just got running water up a few days ago, but he's in dire need of propane. I sent him money for propane.
I get
He's a
paid
good kid. He wants to honor his dad.
Good.
Yeah, we should support that.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
GoFundMe still up now, Dawn?
Yeah, I will post it again on this group's book
Okay.
club page on
Okay.
Facebook.
All right.
Thank you. Kara, are you here yet? No, okay.
Is Kimberly okay? Is Kimberly okay?
Yeah, she's busy. She's doing a lot of driving around. I'm not really sure what she's up to tell you the truth.
Okay, good. So just to know that she's
Somebody
not-
needed a ride somewhere and she offered to drive him. So she's actually in California right now.
Wow.
So I might get to see her, who knows?
Yeah, Carol said that maybe her and Jean were gonna pass through Oregon. That
Yeah,
would be fun. And then Kimberly said she was coming Oregon way too to go to Port Orford. And I haven't looked up where Port Orford is, but she said she'd go on campus and hide some signs.
oh
or-
yeah. My ex lived in Port Orchard. She may still, I'm not
That's in
sure.
Washington, isn't it? Port Orchard?
Yeah, I don't
Okay, she
reckon
lived in Port Orchard. Now she's in Oregon. Okay.
Port Orford Cedar. That's all that comes up for me. Port
Oh,
Orford Cedar.
Yeah, Carol says that they might come to San Francisco. If they do, I'll probably meet up with them. I'll have to take the dogs. I have
Huh.
separation anxiety when I'm away from my dogs.
Well, this chapter I was noticing also puts Anna Mae and Leonard in cahoots against Durham. You know, they both
Yeah,
felt the
yeah.
bad feeling about Durham.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Anna Mae, she was a warrior. I've got a picture of her at Wounded Knee digging a bunker with a golf club.
I've seen that picture. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a great picture.
it is.
She
Isn't
was the
she-
American
Yeah.
Indian movement.
Yeah. Isn't she the one that opened the school to teach survival?
Yes, yes. Yes.
It still operates today or no?
I'm not sure, honestly. I'm not sure. Oh, does anybody remember who it was that named the American Indian movement? It was a group of women. They were thinking about calling themselves the Concerned Indian Association, which would have been the CIA, which wouldn't have been good.
No.
No, that would not be good.
No.
Not good at all.
You know, I was saying earlier, I try to say indigenous or native because Indian, you know, is the name Columbus gave them, but they kind of took back the name, kind of like the gay community took back the word queer. Yeah, I asked Leonard about that because in prison writings, he wrote, I'm an Indian. And I said, do you still consider, I mean, do you want me to use that word? And he's like, hell no. That was Columbus. I'm not an Indian. A lot of people won't even say Native American. They'll just say Native or Indigenous. It's like, this is not America.
The government classification for them is, no, that's American Indian. Native American is the government classification.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm not sure.
yeah. I try to use Indigenous or Native.
I was told to use Indian, so whatever.
Well,
Talk to
there is a
people.
movement to take back the name,
Huh,
but
didn't-
I think white people that don't know what they're talking about, calling people Indians,
Yeah.
I think natives think they're idiots.
Oh, good. Good to
You know,
know.
but when we're talking amongst ourselves, you know, talking about the American Indian movement and stuff, it's okay to use the word Indian. So anybody else get anything else out of this chapter other than the FBI is corrupt as fuck and the presidents are scared of them? We've lost our democracy. We're living under the totalitarian rule of the FBI.
Yeah, Well,
Which I'm
one thing I noticed was that Dick Wilson liked to play the victim a lot. Even
Oh,
though he
yeah.
was the one perpetuating, him and his goons were perpetuating a lot of all the violence and stuff like that. But he was
All of
always
the
the one
violence, yeah.
whining that he was being treated unfairly. And that in this chapter, that stuck out to me. I was like, wow.
Very whiny. Well, when he and his goons went after that Cessna, I
Mm.
believe lawyers flew in
Yeah, they did.
and they shot it to pieces, but it
Yeah.
belonged to a white person. So the FBI slapped his hand over that one. He wasn't charged or anything, but he went on a rant about how unfair everything was.
Uh-huh.
Then he fined himself $10. And
Yeah.
when they tried to take
I
him to
saw that.
court, he tried to claim double jeopardy.
Yeah. he did
Oh,
claim-
Lord.
He did claim double jeopardy and he got off on that.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't get that. See, it's insane.
It really is.
And
Crazy.
charged $10. That's what I asked Leonard. I sent Kimberly a message and I was just like, who is advising Dick? I always forget his
Yeah.
last name.
Oh,
Dick
if you
Green.
guys have any questions
Wilson.
for Leonard, please put them in the chat, okay?
Oh,
Okay.
And I'll make sure he gets them. Or any words of encouragement or anything you want to say to him, just put them in the chat.
Okay.
yeah, it was kind of like, how could Dick Wilson go so much against his people? Like when the shootout occurred, he was going to DC to sign over uranium funds.
Right.
Exactly.
What a
It's not like he
coincidence.
cut off of that proper that
Money,
I know.
money.
I know it's a stupid question, but how could he do that? And who was advising him? Like, I can't think of Dick Wilson being that smart to think double jeopardy and manipulating everything. Somebody was
That's a
directly.
good question. That's a really good question, Tracy.
Yeah,
I would suspect that it was somebody from the feds,
yeah.
but I will ask Leonard.
Just really like, how could he go against his own people? I know it was traditionalist, but I think it was straight out greed and profit. But then why did the goon employees or, Dick Wilson's boys, what did they have in the game to be so corrupt and hate their own people? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
what? I just missing
Well, it was
something.
all nepotism. I mean, he passed the money around, but they got up on the power from what I can see.
I'm so naive, it's like they got off on the power, Tracy. What do you think? They're men. What do you think? I'm just like, I really don't get it.
They did not have native values for sure, I mean, how long have this country been in the custodianship of natives?
I
And
know.
since we took over, the European settlers, we have trashed it. I
Well,
mean, the
also,
water's poison. We've got open radioactive sludge ponds. It is a mess.
Yeah, we didn't work out.
No,
well,
Man, we didn't work
we
out.
didn't work
their fathers were the product of boarding schools. And they had no parental, no father role models other than what the boarding schools taught.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that has continued to be an ongoing problem.
Yeah, that
Well,
makes sense.
Has the Catholic Church ever released any information on the employees at these individual schools that possibly could have been killing these innocent children?
No.
No,
And one of
No.
those schools, when they replumbed it, they found babies that had been flushed down the toilet, white babies, nun and priest babies. And those nuns and priests were still alive.
Mm.
Too hard.
No, just like the pedophile
my.
stuff. They're not gonna cop to anything.
Mm-hmm. No, they're
No,
not.
those boarding schools are not graveyards, they're crime scenes.
Yes, they are.
Not
Yes,
only,
they are.
because they're into the thousands and they still haven't even touched the surface of the ones in the United States. I think they have claimed more of the innocent victims in Canada than the United States so far.
By
I'm
far,
waiting
yeah.
for I'm waiting for the United States to get involved in this and start looking and investigating
Yeah.
so they can return these innocent people and children
Yeah.
back to where they belong.
There were some kids from Rosebud that did bring some of their dead back.
Mhm.
And one of them said, white kids got schools with playgrounds. We got schools with graveyards.
Yeah, schools shouldn't
I
have a
watched
graveyard.
channel 193 and they do a lot of science stuff and history stuff. I really think they should do something on the boarding schools and what's been going on with the indigenous.
Well, Deb
population.
Haaland is.
Huh? What, Annie?
Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland,
Yeah.
is investigating.
Is she? Okay. Okay.
But
good.
they're not talking about it very much, so I wish they would, publicize what they're doing more.
Yeah, yeah.
Seems like it's kind of a hush hush if they're even doing
That's
anything. I don't even know.
because the Catholic Church is involved.
Mhm.
The money that backs the power doesn't want to draw the attention to those things, but people are things are shifting and people are beginning to rise up against that in a various number of formats. And so eventually it will. I just keep my thoughts and prayers along the line of truth winning, because it does, but it's not a fast process.
It always comes
Let's
out
hope
eventually.
it wins soon for Leonard.
Yeah.
You doing? Sorry,
He's
Lynn.
worried. He's worried about keeping up with women when he gets out. Told him, Leonard, we'll have a blue pill fund going for you.
Well, did NBC say when possibly Leonard could have the earliest date for a retrial, or is he going to have to wait a year or so before he can get a retrial?
The article didn't say, because he's exhausted all the ordinary requests for appeal. So the only thing that would work, other than somebody confessing or other than the FBI admitting, would be presidential action, which is why it's so important to write to Biden.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because they could just release him on a compassionate release if they wanted to, right?
In theory.
The president could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And what
Yeah, I've
threat
written to
is
Biden.
he?
I've told him, I know you're in a tough spot. I know you've got Ed Woods hammering at you, but we
I mean,
know
what
now.
threat is Leonard to society today?
None.
None.
Absolutely none.
no.
He needs
But
to
he
go
is a
home.
threat to the FBI.
Society.
Personally, he's not, but in theory he is, because if they release, and that's part of why I would like to see him get exonerated as opposed to just released,
Yeah,
because it has to do with admission of wrong.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think the Catholic Church and our government have a terrible time with admitting their own faults.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's part of the corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it's getting worse instead of better. And I wish as citizens, we can make it where more people are going up against the government and telling them, well, know what you're doing wrong, and we're going to hold you accountable for it. But I'm
Well, I
afraid
run
if
my mouth on Twitter a lot and I send a lot of letters. If that counts for anything.
I
I've
think
been
we all
writing
need
a
to
letter-
start.
I've been writing a letter every night, and at the end of it, I say, "Good night, Mr. President."
I always sign off with thank you for reading this on the very, very, very obsolete chance that you are reading this. Then I say thank you to the guy in the mailroom if you're the one reading this.
Because you know they've got to censor his mail, and if it's anything towards a threat or something that the FBI don't want to see, they probably shred them. And President Biden probably doesn't even know we're
Yeah.
sending the stuff.
No, we'd never know.
No,
You know, they say you can write 'em, but you don't
Gabriella
know.
from Amnesty said that every one of those letters gets put in a file.
Yeah,
So let's make it one big fucking file.
including emails, including emails, not just
Yeah.
handwritten or
Yeah.
typed. Okay.
Yeah, and Kim has actually gotten through on the White House line a couple of times and talked to people. She says one person was really a jerk, but somebody else was really nice. He didn't know who Leonard was. He listened to the story. He said he would tell Biden.
They're volunteers.
Yeah. So anybody else get anything out of the chapter? I'll send you the book, Joanne.
Does Leonard get to go outside and get any fresh air these days?
He's locked down so often. When they do get to go outside, it's like time up, time's up. What do I do with my phone? And the thing about them being locked down is they don't get to go to commissary. And the tap
Oh.
water is tainted. The women's section came down with Legionnaire's disease.
Yeah.
And so when he can't get to commissary, he doesn't get water. And he won't drink out of the tap. He
And
needs to
diabetes
be
makes you
hydrated.
thirsty. Diabetes makes you thirsty.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's sucks.
Oh, this was a good
Ah.
one right here. Eventually, the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights declared Wilson's reelection invalid since nearly 1/3 of the votes were somehow tainted. The Justice Department took no action. The DOJ and Richard Wilson restored to office, dismissed the Civil Rights Commission as a bunch of hoodlums.
Well, you should know what a hoodlum is.
There's just so much in this chapter. I
Yeah,
know Leonard mentioned once to me that Pedro Bissonette, just, that was a straw that broke the camel's back. And
oh, Kate
also,
Pedro Bissonette being murdered, yeah. You know what I like is when they shot Dennis Banks in the back and then arrested him for resisting arrest. Oh, no, for assault.
Russell? You mean Russell?
I think it was Dennis Banks.
Oh,
Was it
I thought
Russell Means?
Russell got shot in the back too. In this chapter. Let me see.
Probably both of them. But
Yeah.
I think, no, this one was Dennis Banks and they
Oh.
arrested him for assault.
Hmm.
After, while he was in the hospital recovering from being shot in the kidney.
oh yeah, it says, I remember watching Crow Dog Dr. Banks putting a red
Yeah.
hot coal, well, to his Sundance
It was
skull.
from Sundance.
I thought
Yeah.
and then he was charged with assaulting an officer, and it was the officer that shot him in the back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
It makes no sense.
they always got charged with things that somebody else should have been charged for.
Exactly.
My idea of my worst nightmare, no control on anything that happens to you. They just make stuff up and shoot you.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
nobody's going to question
I
them because
keep
they haven't
wondering why
questioned
they
them so
haven't
far.
dragged
Yep.
me off, all the shit I talk about them. And the shame of it is there are FBI people that are decent people. As an entity, they've got way too much power. I mean, Ryan has come out and said they need to let him go. Nobody's looked at the role the FBI played, and he did not get a fair trial. The guys that arrested me were great. I was looking at 59 years. And one of them told me that if I was young enough and got a degree, he'd help me get a job as a teacher when I got out.
Wow.
But you know, all this stuff needs to be taught. People need to
Yeah,
realize the
It does. We need to teach
injustice.
through history. In the
Because
spirit of Crazy Horse should be mandatory reading.
Yes.
Yes, it should. It should, and it
I
should
think so.
enlighten the younger generation that they have the opportunity to change the future, and they
Yeah.
need to. They need to
I have
participate.
hope in our kids. I really do.
They
I'm
need to
writing a book
participate.
I'm writing a book right now that animals are gonna get what they deserve. Humans are gonna get exactly what they asked for, and the earth is gonna take itself back. One of the things that's gonna happen is the Black Hills is gonna swallow that paperweight.
It's gonna,
Joanne's
what?
reading it. The Black Hills is gonna swallow that paperweight.
Nice.
Well, how do we get copies of your books, Dawn, that you've written?
Type my name into Amazon.
Nice. Way to
All
go.
right,
Robin
I'm gonna have
Hood.
to do that.
Dawn
Good job.
Lawson. I'll put my name in there. Oh, I like they were running cattle on that one guy's property, and he butchered the cattle in honor of the guy that was running them on his property. They went and arrested him for cattle rustling. And they asked him if he understood his rights. He says, "Yep, I also understand my left." But Leonard helped them laugh. You know, I mean, that was important. Everything was so deadly serious. Yeah, Attorney General Janklow, the man who had promised those who voted for him the year before to put all American Indian members in jail or under it.
Jeez.
What a nice guy.
Yeah, and that's what got him voted in.
Mhm.
People like that.
Well, remember Trump at South Dakota, the you know, where the heads are carved in to
Mhm.
the mountain?
Yeah. That's what the Black Hills.
Yeah, it's like his attitude there, like he's so ignorant that he doesn't even keep it undercover. He's like, we conquered this nation. Anyway, I will never forget that idiot talking 2 4th of Julys ago when Nick Tilson and his group got in trouble because I got to watch it on my little phone. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I
You know,
remember that.
every one of those people on January 6th, there's more guilt than Leonard does. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Capitol Police officers took their own lives afterwards because the people that they were laying their lives on the line for did not have their backs. And they
Horrible.
still don't.
That was
Yeah.
weird, wasn't it? How that group turned on cops. I still don't get that either.
Well, they were white. I
Cops
thought it
were
was
white,
funny
too.
when that shaman was demanding organic food in jail
Yeah,
until they gave it to him.
because his tummy hurts. His
And his
stomach
mom
hurts.
called for him. His mommy was doing prison.
Yeah.
Leonard's eating green bologna.
Gross. It's just rotten. He's got such a good attitude. He doesn't complain.
No, and he's funny. He's funny. Kim makes him laugh. I like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody catch her on that Nashville radio show with Robert?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. She was fabulous. She was
She was
fabulous.
fabulous. I think
Yeah,
she did
it's
an
on the
awesome
book.
job.
It's on the book club.
She did a wonderful job, and her advocacy for Leonard is so in her heart and in her soul. You can hear it in
Yeah.
her voice and her
She has a lot of
dedication.
passion. She has a lot of passion.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. I
I
think all
admire
of
her
us
greatly.
I think all of us in this book club have great passion for Leonard and would love to see him go home.
Yeah.
I just wish
Oh,
that we
yeah.
could do it ourselves. You know, we could just
Yeah.
walk up in there and talk and just get him home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they probably
Knock
put
on the
us
blue
in
doors
jail
and go,
too.
excuse me.
We're here.
We're here for Leonard. Hand him over.
Yeah. One time, like 20, 25 years ago, when we were all getting on the computer, there was Yahoo groups. There was
Yeah.
this group called Necessary Dissent, and a guy started it. And so there were all these Native women and me
Yeah.
on this page. And he's like, you know, this page isn't only about Leonard. And we're all like, want to make a bet. And we took it.
Yeah.
It was so awesome. It's like, yeah, a lot of impassioned people support Leonard.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
And his
I-
birthday is in September, isn't it?
Yeah. September 12th, I think.
I'll look it up. I'll let you know next week.
Google that. September
He sure
12th.
needs to be out by then. It would be nice.
That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's write that down.
Well, ladies,
Well, I'll tell him that you guys said so, and that we all want to go knock on the doors. And I don't think any of us personally want to sleep with them, but I'm sure there's a million women that'll be lined up.
I think he needs a few weeks off before we all just show up and be happy, but whatever happens, I'm just gonna be happy
Yeah, yeah.
and field the phone calls of people who will not give me support now, but oh.
I
When
just
I'm
want
lady-
him out. You know, I just staring at the sky without anybody saying time's up.
Yeah.
And a free man to walk on land under his feet and not concrete.
Exactly.
And feel dirt between his toes and watch a beautiful sunrise and sunset. A free man.
Exactly. And he wants turtles, either turtles or tortoises, one or the other.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of turtles.
That's cool. Maybe that's something I can contribute, but I don't want nothing from Leonard except for him to get out of there and go
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
moon
me too, me too.
and feel better and get surgery and heal, and then we can all
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a transition time when you leave federal prison after 45 years.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah. We gotta like be all about Leonard and saying, no, you take a month or two, dude, and we'll catch up.
Yeah. Okay, guys, well, I've got to migrate. Thank you all for coming.
Thank
And I
you.
will pass on your messages to Kim, and we'll pass them on to Leonard. And I'll
Okay.
send you a book, Joanne.
Okay.
All right. It was a good
And we'll look
discussion.
you up. And we'll look you up on Amazon, Dawn, and see if we can get some of your books.
Okay. The Kindles, I try to keep them affordable. How to Rob a Bank and Drag. I mean, I priced them just above printing. How to Rob a Bank and Drag is like 400 pages, so it's like $14. The
Well,
Secret
Yeah.
to COPD, I kept it under 10.
huh.
Well, that's wonderful.
But if you want to shoot me your email, I will send you the online versions, so you won't have to pay anything.
Okay. I can send you my email.
Okay, just put it in the chat, or do you have me on Messenger?
Yes, I do.
Okay, send me your email.
Okay.
Let me
Everybody
put my
can-
email in here so you guys can email me if you want, and I will send you the online version. On it, allfiredup.blue.
And we're reading book 2, chapter 7, The Shootout. With a
Yeah.
quote from Crazy Horse to start it.
Yeah. Hopefully Jean Roach will be here.
Oh, cool.
All right.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Was that her last
Okay.
name when she was little?
What?
Was Jean Roach's last name Roach when she was little?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but she was at the shootout.
Yeah, 14 years old. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank
Joanne.
you. Good night.
Bye. Love
care.
you, ladies. Love you,
Love
Jen. Y'all have a
you.
good
You
week.
too. Bye.
Bye.